Well, when it comes to schools, the Arizona Department of Health Services says by later this morning, they are expecting Maricopa and Pima counties to meet the suggested benchmarks to finally reopen.
So you know what that means. It means clearing the way for schools to start welcoming students and teachers back to campus together. Right now, all counties are in the green when it comes to fewer hospital visits for COVID-like illness, and some are seeing fewer cases as well. But for most counties, the number of tests coming back positive has not been low enough for long enough to be cleared. The Tolleson Unified School District was granted a waiver to keep their schools closed through the first semester. Now, we spoke with a member of the board who worries it's still too soon.
We're a hot spot. We were a hot spot for community spread. I think it's still going to be a challenge to effectively social distance, to effectively ensure that our students are wearing their masks.
Just last month, 2 elementary schools in Tucson had to close after opening for a quarantine period after students and employees tested positive for COVID-19. Over at the J.O. Combs Unified School District in the Santan Valley, officials had to cancel classes, you'll remember, because too many teachers did not feel safe returning to campus with students and said they would not be there on the first day. Despite those issues, another Valley School District just announced its reopening plans, and Tess is standing by now with the decisions reached during last night's Chandler Unified School Board meeting. Good morning.
Good morning, Olivia. That's right. After a meeting that lasted more than 4 hours, the governing board for Chandler Unified School District decided to go ahead and move forward, approving a staggered return to school schedule for in-person learning. So here it is. Kindergarten through second grade goes back September 14th. Grades 3 through 6 return September 21st. Junior high and high school students, they'll stay virtual until after fall break, returning to campus on October 13th. So joining us this morning to talk a little bit more about the vote and what return to school in person will look like, we have Chandler Unified Board member Dave Evans joining us. Good morning, Dave. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Tess. Thank you.
I know this was a long night last night, you guys considering a lot of things. First, let's clarify. You guys considered numerous things, including hybrid. We want to clarify. This is return in full person 5 days a week.
That's correct. Yeah. From the standpoint of kids getting the proper education and the most that they need, I personally felt that it was best to go 5 days a week. And if we could phase it in, it would make it easier for our educating staff to get people and students in safe places where they need to be, masked correctly. We felt that was probably the best option to phase in.
This is a split decision, 3-2. Talk about why 7th through 12th graders are not going back until after fall break. We've heard from some parents saying, I have kids in different grades now. Some of them will be staying home because we're not going back until the 13th. Why make that decision for the older kids?
Well, so most of those students are in virtual class. They've got a great foundation. Our educators are fantastic. They have the tools they need to be successful. What they don't all have yet is devices. So we need to make sure every student has the tools they need. But one of the things I was mentioning as I talked to numerous teachers, every single class they teach, they're getting better at virtual, and students are getting a better grasp of the material. To go back now and change to a hybrid where students are only meeting with in the class a couple days a week, with exams coming up and it being critical for a lot of seniors to be ready and their transcripts to be ready to apply to colleges, that would just be such a huge disruption right now if we were to bring them back.
As long as the numbers stay improving and stay where they are, they will go back on the 13th. Talk about this, because there's also been some concern because 2 zip codes, you guys have looked at zip codes in Chandler, Title IX schools are not there yet when it comes to the benchmarks. They haven't reached those benchmarks. How was that considered at all? What about those folks?
And so we're one district, we're one community, so we have to look at how those numbers are impacted for every single student. We're hoping that those numbers are helpful, are positive enough that we can look at going back in just under 2 weeks. And by phasing in, again, we won't be creating as much disruption on the 14th if those numbers are where they need to be for pre-K through grades 2. and everyone
right.
else will be consistent. So I think the big thing is we have to look long range. We can't just look at a date of October 13th. This issue is going to be with us for a long time, and we have to build a proper expectation for everybody that we're going to be in and out of those phases.
Dave Evans, thank you so much for joining us. I know we have tons more questions, so we could go on with this forever. For every parent out there, there's lots of concerns, but thank you for what you guys are doing in terms of trying to find out what will be best for the most students, since we know every family has a different need. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time.